And welcome back to Hannity. Now, as I just mentioned with Don Jr., the New York Times piece did a hit on Donald Trump over the weekend over his alleged treatment of women. But here's some real news that's, quote, fit to print. Now, in the past year and a half alone, the Times, well, they have faced 3 high-profile lawsuits where their employees alleged workplace discrimination based on age, race, and gender. Now, one of those lawsuits alleges that the Times sought to replace older female and African-American employees with staffers who were younger, white, and did not have a family. Wow, pushing out women and minorities. There's also the 2014 dismissal of the first female executive editor, Jill Abramson. And according to the New Yorker, well, management thought Abramson was, quote, pushy after she dared to confront her bosses about unequal pay and benefits. And Abramson has alluded to the fact that she was fired because of her management style. And the guy who is running the place, Mark Thompson, well, guess what? He was successfully sued for age discrimination back in 2011 when he was at the BBC. By the way, you're probably not going to see that in his bio. And I doubt we're going to see a 20-page expose on what appears to be an epidemic of discrimination at the New York Times. Here with reaction, editor-in-chief, LifeZet. She's laughing.com. Fox News contribute. You know, it didn't take that long to do all the research. I mean, it was pretty simple.
Sean. You're just horrible to the poor people at the New York. The next thing, Sean, you're going to mention the Jason Blair Witch Project. No, the Jason Blair Which Story Did You Fabricate Project. You're going to mention that next. I mean, you're piling on the poor New York Times. They're so equitable in how they shovel their condemnation for the treatment of women. And I think love the Trump story. It's like a news flash that a single man likes women who has a plane, and the women who go on the plane. Like, who cares?
I interviewed, the main woman in this piece was on last night, and she is absolutely apoplectic.
Yeah,
and
she's friends with Trump.
She loves Trump. She thinks he's the greatest guy who's voting for him. Carrie Prejean was on my radio show. She's going to join us in the next segment. She's mad because he was one of the few people that stood up for her.
I have people texting me saying they were upset they weren't in the story. I mean, they wanted to be in the story. But Sean, one of the most absurd things about this is that they're fanning these teams of reporters out. A friend of mine emailed me yesterday. Then she called me. Donald Trump was in a independent film called Marmalade that she wrote and actually directed. And Trump had a cameo appearance. I'm talking like 20 seconds in this film. They somehow tracked down my friend Jill, and they were like, well, they wanted to get a comment on the record. She said Trump could not have been more magnanimous and more of a gentleman and just a great guy. And she said, this is ridiculous. They're somehow finding an independent film where he appeared for 30 seconds. This is, I think to most people, they see the economy's not working.
But here's
and the
a serious
government's dysfunctional. This is just ridiculous.
Where's the piece interviewing? Now, I interviewed Juanita Broderick.
I did too.
I interviewed Kathleen Willey. I interviewed Paula Jones. This is not somebody saying, oh, you look nice in a bathing suit. These are allegations of exposing yourself, groping, grabbing, fondling, touching against your will.
And that was on an off day. That was on one of
and then Juanita Broderick's.
Slow day.
And I found all 3 women believable and credible.
Absolutely. I mean, the original Lisa Myers report, Sean, on Dateline NBC, I mean, everyone should watch it again from 1999. You interviewed Juanita. I did, too. Absolutely credible. I would love to put her on a stand and give her a lie detector test. I mean, this is the woman obviously was horribly sexually assaulted by Bill Clinton. Other people won't say that. I will, because I think it happened. And we have actual networks that were saying, oh, well, we don't want to get into that. I mean, we don't want to get into that. I mean, if only
they had to be shamed into running that interview. They had to be shamed. And then I went down to the second interview at the time.
Right.
And I walked away saying,
I was chilling.
I was stunned.
But it was Hillary's treatment of her and that follow-up meeting where she showed and she squeezed her hand and wouldn't let it go and said, we're okay here. So I'm paraphrasing, but something like, we're okay. And she said, she wouldn't let my hand go. You know when you get a feeling from someone when they're trying to send you a message, and Hillary was sending a very definite message to Juanita Broderick to not make any trouble.
Let me go back to the New York Times because I have more statistics that I think will put a smile on your face.
Great.
Gender bias at the New York Times, a 2015 survey done by the Women's Media Center. 67.3% of their stories are written by men. And by the way, unequal pay at the New York Times, according to an analysis from the union that represents 1,100 employees at the New York Times, women earn 7% less on average than men. Minorities earn 10% less than the typical wage, and 22% of employees are minority. Now, add that to Hillary Clinton and the Clinton Foundation paying women 38% less. I think
this is always that way with liberals, right, Sean? They care about women in general, but individual women, not so much. So it's the idea like we're for women or we're for minorities, and we say, well, wait a second, life for minorities in the economy has been terrible over the last 7.5 years, small businesses and so forth, compared to Reagan or even Bill Clinton. It's terrible. But, but we care about minorities. Okay, well, let's have an economy that actually produces jobs then and stop flooding the marketplace with illegal labor.
Who's hurt the most by the Obama economy?
Here.
Black Americans, Hispanic Americans, minorities. 1 in 6 young men, 18 to 34, are either in jail or out of work and living at home. So it's pretty scary. All right, Laura, thank you.
Sean, I have a question. Do you have like this? You have all these facts memorized. Do you have like one of the set lists? You know, the rock bands have the set list on your hand. I mean, you rattle off these statistics, man. I mean, I love it. Live shows are the best.
That's all we do for a living. That's what we get paid for. All right, Laura, always good to see you.
Take care.
By the way, Hillary's not speaking. Thank God. The show keeps going. And coming up, the New York Times hit piece against Donald Trump continues to fall apart. Wait till you hear when we come back from Miss California USA 2009, Carrie Prejean. She says the Times is lying after they used a small portion of her book to try and smear the presumptive GOP nominee. She'll join us next to explain. And then later, the Democratic primary in Kentucky still too close to call. Hillary Clinton cannot seal the deal and beat Bernie Sanders, the 74-year-old curmudgeon. We'll check in with Eric Bolling, Geraldo, and Judge Jeanine Pirro, all here, all of that and more tonight on Hannity.